Hey guys, this is Kevin at Watchhimtrade.com. Today's date is April 19th, 2015. This is going to be a video chart on Apple. Talked about Apple last week, and Apple had a pretty good drop this week. Last week it was coming into this week around 127 and had a nice sell-off to the end of the week. You can see it couldn't really stay above the 127 level. This is a daily chart that I've had some trend lines on for a while, but I want to look at a 15-minute chart and plot against this 127 level to show just how you got rejected at it during the back half of the week. So this pink line goes right across 127. You can see on the 15th, which was Wednesday, came up to it, stalled out in the end of the day. Next day, on Thursday, you had a gap down, tried to recover up to it at the open, rejected, backed away 126s, then you came back up to it again in the afternoon, but then sold off into the close. And then Friday, of course, as the market got hit, Apple had a big gap down pre-market. This is all pre-market activity. The lighter shade colors represents pre-market, and then the darker, more fuller colors is the actual open market. So you can see a nice gap down on Friday, and then you ended up breaking below 125, which to me is a key pivot. So 15-minute chart here clearly shows the resistance that 127 provided in the later part of the week. So now going back to the daily chart, you've got some good levels to watch, and I like this setup on Apple because, number one, earnings are a week from tomorrow, a week from Monday. They're on April 27th, so that means you don't have any earnings related premium this week. Alright, and number two, you're right around that 125 level, which you can see this trend line here, this blue line that I just kind of marked pink with this dash. That's the 125 level. There's been numerous pivots above and below 25, and now we're looking at another potential pivot below 25. So if you hold below 25, then I like Apple to be able to come down and test these lows that I just highlighted. This is between 121.50 and 123. That's where I think you're going if you stay below 125. If you hold 125 here, though, you can put in a higher low. You can see that since the March low, early March, off of the iWatch announcement sell-off, you have had a series of higher lows here. So if Apple can stabilize around here, around this 125, you could then put in another higher low and try and get back up near that 130 level, because with those higher lows, you have had a couple higher highs over the last couple of weeks as well, but you have yet to get above the highest high that came off of the bottom in early March. If I just put a little box around things here, alright, and we just plot Apple from this low to this high and then extend it out. You can see that's where Apple's been trading. That's been its range. You look at the range, the low was 121.60, the high was 129.25. That was put in over a period of 5 days in the early to mid part of March, and since then you have not gotten out of that range. So 125 has been the pivot that's either been sending it back up towards the top of the range or back down towards the bottom of the range. So that's why I say I like this setup here around 25, because to me you've either got to go back down and test the lower end of the range, maybe try and put in a higher low, or maybe you break down here and actually head towards 120 if you were to break down beneath these lows, or maybe you stabilize around here, sorry, I said higher low earlier, a lower low I mean, or maybe you stabilize around here and get another higher low and reverse and go back up towards this 128 to 130 area, which has marked the highs, and then 130 still the level you got to get above. Overall, looking a little further with the earnings coming up for Apple, you're going to need to get above 130 for a big move to the upside, or below 120 for a big move to the downside. Longer term, anything above 120, say Apple pulls back 4% or so from here, as long as she holds 120, she still looks really good to me. in the longer to intermediate term. Needs a breakdown beneath 120 to have me speaking more cautiously on Apple from a longer term trend perspective. And if we go out a little bit more, this trend line, which is the trend line from the October low, next week this will be around 116-ish or so, and as we get into May and June, she'll be creeping up towards 118 to 120. So that's something I'll be watching too. But again, got to get out of the 120 to 130 range longer term for big time movement. Shorter term, watch these 125 pivots for either a move back up to the top end of the channel or a move back down to the lower end of the channel.